Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's PureLink's webinar from USB-C to Dante, Building the Modern AV Stack. Today's session focuses on the real technologies powering modern AV systems, specifically USB-C and Dante audio, and how these standards are reshaping the AV world and how it's being designed, deployed, and supported. We'll ground this discussion in real-world environments and show how PureLink simplifies integration across these spaces. But before we begin, I would like to give a brief overview of PureLink's history for those who may not be familiar with who PureLink is as a company. So, since the beginning of 2002, which is over 2 decades ago, our journey began when our founder, Minsu Park, identified a weakness in the original HDCP specification. Recognizing the lack of support for the commercial applications of HDCP with DVI cables, he partnered with Intel to reshape its future, setting the stage for our pioneering role in the AV industry. This was the beginning of many innovative milestones to be achieved by PureLink. As you can see on our timeline, PureLink has multiple major first milestones within the AV industry for more than 2 decades. Starting with the first DVI fiber cable in 2002, all the way to our topic of discussion today, USB-C Dante solutions, which were introduced in 2024, and our latest milestone, which is the launch of push-go meeting room systems, which use our brand of Icon to control plug-and-play systems. So PureLink is just more than a manufacturer. As you can see here, we have a multitude of different brands that meet different needs for integrators and users. As I stated for the push-go systems, first we have our Icon brand, which is our own proprietary control and automation software system. Next is the push-go, which is the plug-and-play meeting room solution system, which uses Icon to program and control all the AV hardware gear that's included within this package. Next, we have our media access. Our latest is the media access 2, our 10th generation cross-platform matrix system. Next is our PureStream brand, which encompasses all of our AV over IP hardware, whether it be encoders and decoders, network switch, and Dante applications. The next brand is our Pure Media, our first generation original cross-platform matrix system. And next we have our HD Tools, which is our everyday AV day-to-day solution brand. And then our last brand here, Total Wire, for connectivity and cabling for HDMI cables, DVI, DisplayPort, fiber, CAT cables, and etc. So as PureLink, we serve more than 400 clients that are in the Fortune 500 companies across different industries. As you can see here, we have served different companies that are part of financial institutions, services, universities, sports facilities, cruise ship industry, and military, and many more. So that's just a little bit of who we are as a company. So now let's begin today's webinar. So why is the audio video world connectivity changing? Well, one is because the rising demand in hybrid work environment and educational institutions. The modern AV landscape is always evolving. As you can see, the needs and behaviors by end users are changing. Conference rooms are no longer used only for in-person meetings. They now support hybrid collaboration with remote participants joining via Teams, Zoom, or WebEx, or any other online meeting software. Classrooms in educational spaces are expected to support lecture capture, streaming, and flexible layouts. These changes place a far greater demand on AV systems than in the past. So from an operational standpoint, organizations are also under pressure to reduce support costs. However, in a study, industry surveys show over 70% of meeting room support tickets that are still related to connectivity issues. As a result, organizations are prioritizing solutions that reduce friction at the point of use for end users for these AV systems. Modern AV standards such as USB-C and Dante are directly addressed for these challenges by simplifying user interaction while enabling scalable network-based system designing behind the scenes. So the AV industry is at an inflection point, incorporating these new technologies being introduced for the past couple years. AV systems are now live on the same network as the enterprise IT. In real deployments, this means AV must follow IT rules for managed switches, VLANs, security policies, and monitoring. A Fortune 500 customer recently required all AV devices to be IT managed, forcing integrators to abandon proprietary cabling and adopt standards-based AV over IP and audio over IP architectures. For example, Dante, which we will get into later in today's webinar. Since AV systems are now being compliant with IT infrastructure for AV over IP and audio over IP architectures, there is a need and increased rise of bandwidth and resolution demands as well. Transitioning to IP-based systems to meet audio channel demands, which is Dante, and other solutions for these AV architecture. AV and IT convergence is no longer theoretical, it is a requirement in real deployments. In enterprise environments, AV systems must comply with IT security policies, network monitoring standards, and lifecycle management practices. And as you can see, the rise of the need for any AV over IP systems that incorporate all the latest technologies for the AV industries. Research projects that the professional AV market is growing from $332 billion in 2025 to over $402 billion by 2030. And again, this is driven largely by networked AV architectures, i.e. the AV over IP system. So one key point of the latest technologies that are at the endpoint of these AV over IP technology are the rise of the USB-C applications. USB-C has become the dominant connector on all end users' applications like laptops for companies like Apple, Dell, HP, and Lenovo. USB-C is a one connector for video, audio, data, and power. It has become the standard connection type for the modern laptops that I've stated, for the big brands like Apple and Dell. And in 2024, there's been a study for over 85% of enterprise laptops shipped with USB-C ports as the primary or only video output connection, making it unavoidable in AV design systems. With the rise of USB-C, this simplifies user experiences. Now, with the rise of USB-C, to simplify the user experience, there's always challenges. One challenge would be power delivery is not consistent across all devices for any USB-C ports. You will need to check the type of USB-C port and the cabling for the application you are using for your AV system. Like, for example, there's USB-C DP alt mode and full-featured USB-C applications. Without DP alt mode for USB-C, no data would be transferring any video or audio through that USB-C cable from your laptop to the display. And also the cable matters, whether it has the bandwidth and capabilities to send video and audio as well. Cable length also applies the limitations just like HDMI. However, the cable length is not as mitigating as HDMI. So when you design these systems with USB-C, you must keep in mind that validation is critical for reliability when designing a standard system. And next, we have Dante. So what is Dante? Dante is an audio over IP technology that transports uncompressed digital audio over standard Ethernet networks. Unlike analog audio, Dante allows audio routing to be configured in software, making systems far more flexible. So to break it down, all you need is to have a laptop with the Dante application. You can get this from Audinate. Once this has been installed, you connect your laptop to the network switch that's in your AV system, and you're able to control the audio channels for any AV gear that is compliant with Dante. So why am I talking about Dante? So in these recent years, for the past 5 years and more, Dante has had an explosive growth because it has low latency and deterministic performance. It is scalable from small rooms to major campuses, and it's incorporated in rapid adoption beyond live sound and broadcasting as well. And like I said, because the AV landscape is changing over to more scalable, cost-effective solutions, and also future-proofing the systems, which lead to IP-based systems. Dante is also an IP-based audio system to be able to control audio rather than going through the analog audio route. And as industry research shows, the number of networked audio products exceeds 6,000, which with Dante leading in overall product share and continued yearly growth. Then why does Dante work with this explosive boom of applications? As mentioned before, Dante is scalable and it's agile for audio designs that can leverage multicast routing. Audio routing becomes software-centric instead of fixed hardware patching. Since this is a software-centric application design system, it reduces the time to troubleshoot and decreases the time to manually fix the patching and hardware of any analog audio system. As you can see on the picture, it shows how the Dante software is incorporated to all technologies within the connected system to Dante. In here, we have a real-life case study of how Dante is being used. Our case study for today is the University of Southern California. So USC deployed a vast Dante AV network to over 248 learning environments within the campus and facility to facilitate a hybrid education program. This system allowed faculty to simultaneously lecture on campus and stream the content online for remote students. With Dante being built in this hybrid ecosystem, hybrid learning infrastructure allows flexibility and scalability. It mitigates classroom overflow and allows students for clear audio when they access these classes remotely. And the end result, simplified management for utilization of Dante Domain Manager, which is the software you use to use Dante in the ecosystem. So this shows how it simplifies using Dante rather than any old analog audio gear or system to patch into 248 different rooms within the campus. You only need one computer to connect to all AV technology that are Dante compliant, rather than buying separate and installing separate AV gear without Dante. This mitigates costs and support tickets as well. So since Dante is an IP-based software solution for many audio applications, I would just like to briefly discuss about the role of AV over IP and AV infrastructure and architecture of these systems. AV over IP bypasses fixed hardware bottlenecks and enables scalability, redundancy, and centralized monitoring. AV over IP are network-based video distribution, and it's scalable beyond traditional matrices, and it is based on centralized management. As you can see in the left of the picture, it shows you traditional AV, and then now you have your AV over IP. Compared to the older ecosystem of AV traditional systems, there are limitations to cross-platform matrix switchers because they have a set number of ins and outs. Compared to an AV over IP, your limitation is just the number of ports of the network switches you have within the system. And if you ever max out in the ports of the network switches, you can always purchase or install a new network switch and upscale your AV system. So how does USB-C, Dante, and IP work together? In modern conference rooms, USB-C handles user connection. Dante transports microphone and speaker audio over IP-based systems, and the IP-based system distributes video content to display and also distributes audio recording systems as well. Each standard handles what it does best. And as you can see, AV over IP allows video to be distributed across numerous facilities using the same network approach, replacing fixed size matrix switchers with scalable architectures, as mentioned previously. Now, bring this all together, there has been a global conference room standardization, 40 to 50% reduction in support calls related to room connectivity within the first years, as users no longer struggled with varying input types or missing adapters, such as HDMI connections or any old systems that still use VGA or DVI, and you would need to convert that to HDMI. You are reducing these little variables and factors in your AV systems by replacing with USB-C or one type of connection only systems. Next, we have faster global deployments. Once a standard design is approved, individual rooms could be configured and built in days rather than weeks, cutting rollout times dramatically. Just like in the case study for USC, just standardizing one room for one learning classroom can be applied for multitudes of the same exact classroom setups, kind of like a copy and paste, and you just install the same exact gear and system with Dante network applied to it as well. And lastly, centralized monitoring and management. AV and IT staff could update firmware, monitor Dante audio channels, and push configurations across regions from a central dashboard. Video endpoints in these AV over IP systems have video endpoints that distribute over networked encoders and decoders with standard IP switches, which enable flexible layouts and easy expansion without proprietary matrix hardware. This approach mirrors what many large organizations aim for when adopting Dante and network-centric AV standards, which are repeatable, supportable, and scalable conferencing experience, regardless of geography, while also respecting IT governance and security requirements. So obviously, even with the new technologies with the USB-C and Dante emerging, integrators also still face challenges today with these new technologies. Now that integrators must now manage mixed signal types for AV over IP systems to match with IT policies and user expectations. Without standard-based solutions, troubleshooting becomes time-consuming and unpredictable as well. Integrators today must design systems that successfully balance USB connectivity, audio transport, video distribution, and IT network policies, all while delivering a simple experience for end users. And just circling back to USB-C, in this complication of one, connectivity in these systems, integrators must also keep in mind that there are different types of USB-C cables and ports, so it must be consistent. Otherwise, one little mistake may block or throw a little wrench in the whole AV ecosystem. And another major challenge that might present itself is the audio. In legacy systems, analog audio paths were easy to visualize, but difficult to scale. With Dante, audio becomes software defined, which introduces a learning curve for integrators unfamiliar with networking concepts such as clocking, multicast, traffic, QoS, and VLANs. So even though Dante is the ideal solution for audio IP-based systems, and it reduces the support cost, other resources will have to go into staffs, into training on material and information on how to use Dante and its settings, on how to make sure it's applicable to the current AV system designs. And finally, integrators that face organizational challenges, not just technical ones, AV teams must align with IT security requirements, documentation standards, and change management process. In global deployments, even small deviations from a standard room design can create long-term support burdens. So even with all these integration challenges today, PureLink in the AV industry can simplify these integrations. And how does PureLink simplify integrations? Well, in modern AV projects, as mentioned before in the integrators' challenges, the main goal is for success in all these systems. And success is measured by how quickly a system can be deployed, how reliably it performs, and how easily it can be supported over time. And PureLink's crosses the check for all of these reasons, right? PureLink provides solutions to reduce uncertainty. And PureLink also provides scalable future-proof systems with our PureStream AV over IP devices, our Dante DSP devices, as well as our USB-C hardware and gear. And another key fact for PureLink's strength is that we provide support for integrators for a long time, even after one installation has been completed. Let's say an integrator or an installer who designed the system maybe 10 years ago, and now there's one little complication that arises. If PureLink was involved in that system, they can just reach out to PureLink, and our support team will be able to help guide the integrator or installer to reach a solution. So, and with PureLink support, this reduces long-term support costs to any complex AV system on site. PureLink provides, as I mentioned, PureLink provides IP hardware and the latest managed network switches. And along with these network switches and encoders and decoders, we offer baseline network setting configuration to save time for integrators and installers to install and configure the encoders and decoders of these IP-based solution systems as well when they are on site. Integrators choose PureLink because at the end of the day, we simplify designs, reduce installation time, and support long-term reliability. So some key takeaways from today's webinar. USB-C simplifies users' connectivity, Dante enables scalable audio, and standards-based designs reduce integration risk. At the end of the day, end users just want a simplified system where there's no complication, and it's a long-term reliable system. And with a long-term reliable performance system, you need to future-proof it as well, leaving any room for any scaling, whether you want to upscale the current system. Right. And taken together, these takeaways reinforce a central message: a modern AV system succeeds when they're designed around standards, validated integration, and real world usage, and not isolated technology. PureLink supports these key philosophies when incorporating the latest technologies like USB-C and Dante in today's modern AV systems. And before we end today's webinar, I would like to briefly just show some PureLink hardware that has either Dante or USB-C incorporated features into its applications and functions. First, we have our Max 2, our latest generation cross-platform matrix switcher. This cross-platform matrix switcher actually has Dante applications incorporated into it. So all you need to do is just make sure you have the Dante card inserted into the cross-platform matrix switcher. And using this card, you will connect your laptop into the port of this card to be able to control the Dante features of this cross-platform switcher. This switcher ranges from a 20 by 20 frame size all the way up to a 288 by 288. Then next we have our HD Tools Everyday AV System Solution gear. First we have is our PSX10, our 6x1 4K60 seamless presentation switcher. This presentation switcher has two USB-C input and 3 HDMI inputs along with the HDMI output and HD-Base-T output with the receiver to the switcher. And along with this switcher, it has a 2-channel Dante in and out audio, which is controllable by its API commands, whether you want to select just the stereo or the Dante audio of this presentation switcher. And next, another one of our USB-C solutions is our 4K60 100-meter wall plate extender. It's an HD-Base-T extender with a wall plate transmitter that has a USB-C port and a USB-C charging port on the wall plate itself. This is good for any meeting rooms that have that incorporate wall plate transmitters. And next we have our 4K60 HDMI and USB-C over HD-Base-T 3.0 100-meter extender with bidirectional POC. This HD-Base-T extension system incorporates USB-C inputs, and the USB-C ports also have a feature where it charges up to 60 watts. So for example, if your laptop has a USB-C port for charging and for video audio transmission, you can just plug this into the HUE 100 and it will charge your laptop while distributing video and audio. And here is another one of our simple USB extender. It is a USB 3.2 100-meter extender over CAT. This is a USB-C to USB-C or USB-C to USB-A extender. As you can see, the transmitter is a USB-C to USB-C connection, and it will travel over CAT to the receiver, which has USB-C or USB-A ports on it. And another one of our quick meeting room solutions here is our HuddleCam 500, which is a 4K auto tracking PTZ camera soundbar. Includes a microphone in it as well with an AI feature that uses a smart gallery function. The AI has auto framing and tracking camera with 3 different modes within smart gallery. It uses USB-C to USB-A to whatever extension mic you would like to incorporate it as well. And lastly, here's our last USB-C extender, our USB-C 3.1 to HDMI 4K60 extender, over 50 meters of CAT. This is a simple extender that allows worry-free extension via USB-C DP alt mode for your source to display. And for our IP, AV over IP system, we have a 24-port 1GL3 switch. As you can see, it has 24 1 gig port and then 4 10 GB SFP plus interlink ports. So you can interlink between multitudes of different network switches. And as always, PureLink provides a demo program where you can try any of our PureLink products for 30 days. And I would like to just welcome you to join our PureLink community through different social media outlets like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And that concludes for our webinar today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email, sales@purelink.av.com, or our phone number 201-488-3232. Thank you for tuning in today's webinar.